I think Sean McDermott is getting fired after Sunday's loss to the Chiefs. Like, I think this Chiefs team is going to beat the Bills to a pulp. Blow them out. I don't like this spot for Buffalo whatsoever. But that's not why he's going to get fired. It's part of it. Part of it. But not the main reason. The main reason why I think Sean McDermott is getting fired after Sunday's game is because this week, with what has come out with Sean McDermott and his comments, highlight a lack of trust from the team in their head coach. And if you don't trust your head coach, why you can't play out the string. If you are Brandon Beane and the organization and the team has lost trust in your head coach, in Sean McDermott, you can't have him out there motivating and leading your team for another month of the season. You got to move off that ASAP. That's not one of those things you can just play the string out and move on and say all is well. You got to make a change. When you lose the locker room, you got to make a change ASAP. And that's what I think happened here. Sean McDermott has lost the locker room. He has lost the team. And how I know that is, just look what happened this week. Those abhorrent comments about his so-called motivational speech in referencing 9/11 and highlighting, of all people, the terrorists, and using that as motivation for the Bills team. That coming out this week, that story coming out this week, highlights how McDermott has lost the team, because he didn't say those comments in a meeting this week. He didn't say those comments in a meeting last week or last month. Those comments came 4 years ago, back in 2019. It's not a coincidence that they are coming out and to the surface now. They are out now because the Bills are laying the groundwork to fire McDermott. They're making it easier and more justifiable to fire him. But that was leaked on purpose this week to start the fire under McDermott's feet. And if they get blown out in Kansas City, that is the perfect match on the tinderbox. It's already been prepared to fire McDermott. I think that's going to be the last straw. The Bills, I think, are setting themselves up to where if they get, and I think they will, get blown up by the Chiefs, they are going to fire Sean McDermott. Those comments were disgusting, and I kind of, to be honest, feel a little bit gross saying this, but I think it's the reality. Those comments are not coming out by McDermott if the Bills are 11-1. Like, the reason they came out now is because they're 6-6, going against the Chiefs, and their season's over. If they were 11-1, we are not, those comments, I should say, are not seeing the light of day. They did it in 2019, made the playoffs. They did it in 2020, made the AFC title game. And Josh Allen took a big step. They did it in 2021 because they were so close against the Chiefs, 13 seconds. They did it in 2022 because going into that year, everyone thought, oh, Bills Super Bowl, lock it up. This is the first time since those comments were made back in 2019 where things have hit the fan. In the regular season, at least. Where things have not gone to plan. Where the Bills are not one of the favorites going into the playoffs to win the Super Bowl. Where the Bills are not going to be in the playoffs, period. I think now you see the frustration in the organization. And it's not a coincidence. This tremendous piece by Tyler Dunn of GoLongTD.com is released this week. Because I think the Bills want to fire McDermott and want an excuse to fire McDermott. Look, the Bills have had a lot of losing, right? And he, to his credit, McDermott that is, took this Bills team and elevated them to where they were a perpetual loser, and now they are a perpetual playoff team. Right? They're in it every single year. But now you see, not only is the ceiling been reached where he is not a good enough coach to get them to the Super Bowl, he's not a good playoff coach in general. But now you see the unraveling where, and along also with Tyler Dunn's piece, not just highlighting the 9/11 comments, but also highlighting he's a guy who blames others but himself, not a lot of accountability, not very good leadership, not, a good coach in the playoffs. Guys are not really close to him, especially on the offensive end. Doesn't really have a strong relationship with Josh Allen. You see that all now fester as an excuse to fire McDermott. That's why I think these comments were made this week, or published this week, I should say, and I don't think it's a coincidence. But I think also if you look at these comments, we could dive a little bit deeper as well. You can look at those comments made back in a 2019 training camp practice as a motivational tactic. And also draw a parallel of, will it make sense why the Bills are not a very good team when it comes to winning close games? Why they are 2-6 this year in one-score games? Why the 13-second collapse against the Chiefs in the playoffs happened? Why other close calls and other playoff eggs were laid in the past? It's because the team doesn't trust McDermott. And if you don't trust your coach, that shows up in the tightest moments. Not in a game when you're blowing a team out. Not in a game where you're going against a subpar opponent. Those fractures show up when you play big-time opponents and when you play in big-time games. And there's a reason why more times than not, the Bills have lost those games. Trust, belief, faith in the team and the coach, those things are exemplified in a positive way when your team constantly wins one-score games and you win a lot of big games. They are accentuated in a negative way when you constantly are on the other side of those games. And the Bills have been on the other side of those games plenty of times. More times than they should. But it makes sense when you watch this team play that, yeah, they don't believe in their head coach. They don't trust their head coach to put them in the right spot to succeed. To get the most out of it. Have the right game plan created to win that week. And I think you can look at Sean McDermott's judgment and make the conclusion, yeah, the guy can't get this team ready to play, and that's why these players and this organization has lost faith in their head coach. I think about it. You go back to those 9/11 comments made in a team meeting. They were not off-the-cuff comments. We've all done it. We've all made jokes that were over the line. We've all said things in the heat of the moment that we regret immediately. But a lot of the time is in the moment, you're fired up, emotions are high, and you say things off the top of your head. We've all been there. We've all had to apologize. But what's concerning for me and why for me with McDermott, it's not really why it's unforgivable and not acceptable is because this was premeditated. He had time to think about it. Like no coach goes into a team meeting having no idea what they're going to say. Kind of like Michael Scott, start a sentence having no idea where it's going to lead to and just ramble on and hope that they're rambling, they find a point, and then that motivates the team. Now, you come in with a message that's already predetermined, that's already written out, it's already scripted, you probably practiced it a few times as well. He's had multiple opportunities, whether it's hours, whether it's days, to think about that message and say, highlighting the terrorists of 9/11. Do I really want to use that as the motivating tool this week? Do I really want to use that to fire my team today? Or do I want to maybe focus on something else? Different subject, maybe let's focus on the first responders. Make a positive out of a tragedy. No. He had plenty of time to think about it, to make adjustments, to think better about it, and didn't. That, to me, you could draw a direct conclusion then to his decision-making in-game. His ability to prepare the team during the week to get them ready for Sunday. And you see it especially this season. All faith is lost. Game number 1 against the Jets. Aaron Rodgers suffers a season-ending injury on the 4th play of the game. Yet, you lose in overtime to a team that should have been emotionally drained by watching their season come to an end 4 plays into the season. Nope, find a way to lose that game. Okay. You're in Foxborough a few weeks later against one of the worst teams in the league in the Patriots. Find a way to lose that game and give spark to an offense led by Mac Jones that has been one of the league's worst. You find a way against the Eagles to light them up offensively and stuff Philly in the first half defensively, and then all of a sudden the defensive-minded head coach can't get a stop in the second half when it matters. Can't get the right amount of guys on the field to block a potential game-winning field goal against the Broncos at home. Like you look at the mistakes. You look at how the Bills have lost these close games, it now makes sense. These comments coming to light are not only disgusting, unacceptable, and abhorrent, it also explains why the Bills have underachieved and why with all that talent, they've never really come close to winning a Super Bowl. It all makes sense because that head coach, they don't believe, and they're not led by a guy who knows how to put guys in positions to succeed in the big moments. It all checks out. It all checks out. And that's why it's not a coincidence those comments, despite being said 4 years ago, were brought to light this week. It's the Bills trying to get some heat under McDermott's feet. This is an inside job. This was an inside job. And if you're the Bills, I don't know why you just can't man up and fire him and say, hey, look, we're trying to win a Super Bowl. He's done a great job getting us here, but he can't get us over the hump. I think most fans would accept that. And if they don't, okay, don't be judged don't make your moves based on fan reaction. Make your moves in what you think is right. But if you're Brandon Beane, whether you knew about these comments or not, it makes it a lot more justifiable to fire Sean McDermott. I think it makes it a lot easier to fire Sean McDermott after Sunday. With these comments out there, with I think your team and your organization losing faith in your head coach, I think the Chiefs are winning big. If I'm right, I don't say you allow Sean McDermott to coach another game if you're the Bills. And I think they want it that way. I think they want to secretly get blown out. Front office, at least. Start fresh, fire McDermott, move on. And also, too, by the way, fire McDermott in season is a good thing because you get now a head coach, a jump on your head coaching search. Which, by the way, a popular name being rumored, being discussed about, who could take over and come in the NFL next year is Jim Harbaugh. And this week, Michigan offered Jim Harbaugh a fat contract extension with one catch. He has to sign away his ability or his right, if you will, however you want to phrase it, to interview for another NFL head coaching job, at least this offseason. So if Harbaugh signs that extension, he is contractually obligated to say no to any and every NFL job interview request. If you're the Bills and you have real interest in hiring Harbaugh as your next head coach, you got to fire McDermott now and start talking to Harbaugh, saying, hey, Jim, maybe don't sign that contract. Maybe take your time. Let's just talk first before, you think about your future, and maybe let's see if we can work something out here before legally we can't talk to you again this offseason. So that's why if you're the Bills, firing McDermott on Sunday also allows you now to get in line to court a guy that could be high on your list in Jim Harbaugh. So the comments being published this week, despite them being said 4 weeks ago, for me, screams that the entire organization of the Buffalo Bills has lost trust and has lost faith in Sean McDermott and is using this in order to try to set the stage for him to get fired here down the road. And I think these comments being published, along with the fact that I think the Bills are going to get blown out on Sunday by the Chiefs, to me that adds up to McDermott getting fired on Sunday. Like, we're going to see Sean McDermott coach his last game for the Bills Sunday in Kansas City. After a Chiefs blow win, it's very easy for Brandon Beane to say, teams lost trust in him. We're not playing inspired. These comments are gross. We don't stand by them as well. And we're going to move on, and we're going to thank Sean for all his years of success. We're going to now start the process of looking for a new head coach. It's very simple. It's very clean. That's why I think these comments were leaked. That's what I think is happening here in Buffalo. McDermott will be fired after Sunday's game in Kansas City.